Hi, it's 975 and welcome to Baldur's Gate 3, episode 18 of Nipsy Does Honor Mode. Nipsy's been mincing her way through Honor Mode quite happily. I had an idea for doing this fight and it didn't work out how I wanted, but this was one of the few fights that I had left just to clean up in the Underdark. I pretty much completed the Underdark. I haven't done the Bibberbang bit, and I haven't killed the Brulette, but the Brulette's like hanging on by a thread, and that's a bit of an anticlimax coming later in this episode. But this fight with the Spectator was one I was like, that's going to be a pain still, and came down here, and I don't know why, but he's absolutely mollywopped Nipsy in the first turn, which, I was like, that's kind, but then he covers you in darkness, so that's kind of not too bad. It's one of those things in this fight, you end up a lot of the time being helped out. Now, the new things that they've added to the Spectator in terms of what he can do in terms of psychic stuff that he does is actually really annoyingly dangerous. Like frightening Lizelle to bits. Didn't help out, but even disadvantaged precision strike is actually really good against this. When you're disadvantaged, precision strike is a good thing to do, but ultimately you've got to get a bit of luck with hitting sometimes, and things don't always go your way, but precision strike is a good shout. As to the Raven was kind of like, what am I going to do with you this fight? Because you're not going to last that long, it's true. So I'm going to try and get you to peck some people. But instead, he got absolutely blasted, so, unable to move because of frightened. And Karlak, what's she going to do? I kind of got lucky because she's up here and she's away from the, she's not in the way that the darkness is not going to affect her, but equally she's up here and can't run in and absolutely mollywop things. So, the throwing is useful, and but you still have to hit. And the killing the Spectator from distance is probably one of the best ways to go, but I don't know why I didn't rage before doing this. What it should be doing is setting the Spectator on fire and then using Dragon's Grasp for the extra damage, but I kind of messed that up because I remembered to do that after I already wasted the first throw. Now, the good thing about being in darkness is it does protect Nipsy. That doesn't mean Shadowheart has to be right on top of her to actually do any healing, but that's fine. It's not a problem, it's just a positional thing. It is amazing how many spells in D&D require line of sight, and amazing how many spells have a verbal component. Silence is a much underrated spell, it's got to be said. But yeah. But again, fortunately, because Shadowheart's got all the bling, the healing effect she does tends to be more potent than it would be normally, and the putting Blade Wood on things is really, really useful. That's one of the best, I would say that's probably the best early game buffs you get is the full Shadowheart kit. So she does extra healing, bless, and Blade Ward. I think that's probably the best way to go. My Raven gets put to sleep. This is annoying, but worse things happen. The Drow can be dangerous, but that's the way it goes. The Paranoid Dreams abilities that they gave the Spectator when they buffed him, it certainly buffed him really well. I mean, he's pretty buffed after all that. So this is where I remember the Spectator is currently on fire. So this means this does an extra dice of damage, which is kind of useful. Now, one of the things other than the Spectator fight to clear up was also I forgot that I hadn't opened the lockbox and got the Dead Monk amulet. I really should play this game through as a monk at some point, though my hatred of monks in D&D in general is long standing. It goes back probably over 20 years. It's probably about 30 years now that I've hated monks in D&D. Because they just don't fit. Anyone who's watched the Gamers movies, the second one, The Darkness Rising, the second movie captures it so brilliantly, the way I view monks. Playing through a campaign as a monk is just cheese. It just kind of doesn't fit my personal medieval fantasy aesthetic. It's, I don't really see Shaolin monk running around Lord of the Rings. It just doesn't vibe for me. Never has done. So I've never been a fan of monks, even though they are really, really good in a lot of ways. They're bad in a lot of ways, but when they get to a certain point, they got so many key points, and they can stun and strike everything over and over again until it fails. Especially with a party with somebody with silvery barbs, they become really potent. And now silvery barbs is available through the mods. It becomes a thing, genuinely a thing in the game. I do remember that this does extra damage to things with multiple eyes. So, haha, take that, multiple-eyed thing. Yeah, it's actually a few fights that you realise, oh yeah, that's not a bad item to be thrown around, because it does do extra damage to things with multiple eyes. This is where I decided not to get the paranoid dreams going, because, yeah, that's just horrible, and also build up her electric charges. And I should have really hunted Mark before shooting. It's dumb, but that's the way it goes. I'm an idiot. And yeah, I'm not worried about leaving the elves alive, because I've already uncovered the full elf plot. There's kind of like a storyline thing with the elves. There's the Drow brothers, which were trying to locate the forge themselves, and yeah, that's a whole storyline and thing, which you uncover as you go. And yeah, I'm not too worried about harming the Drow. I think I've learnt enough about the forge at this point, considering I've already been down there and had the big fight with the big monster and got my butt kicked in that one. But yeah, at this point I'm just looking to do as much damage as possible. There's a big mistake coming up as I trigger the Ocular Nightmare, which yeah, some of the stuff they added to the Spectator makes him a very, very nasty little encounter, and one of the reasons why I'd put this fight off when I was lower level. But yeah, that many paranoid dreams and the Ocular Nightmare is kind of silly. And then I should have, and to be honest, I shouldn't have cut in words these saving throws. Yeah, but it kind of helped because it just paralysed and stunned a lot of stuff. And as you can see, Nipsy's, I shouldn't have done this. There's no point, once you get that low, there's no point in healing you. You're better off taking the big hit and then coming back up, taking the big hit and coming back up. There's a point mathematically where there's no point, because you're going to get hit for more hit points than you can bring back. So unless you can get to a point where you can survive a hit, you're better off taking the hit, going down and coming back up again, mathematically. Though I don't know, it just feels wrong doing it that way. Even though mathematically it's more sensible to do it that way, it just feels kind of wrong doing it that way. One thing about D&D and D20 games in general, they have a lot of weird, crunchy maths, which unexpectedly there's some complexity to the maths. The whole advantage-disadvantage thing is very surprising, how it works out on different dice. It's actually, I'm going to be interested because we are moving away from the D20 system for our next campaign. We're going to be playing the same systems that's used for the Star Wars system, so no numbered dice at all, and it's a much more less number crunchy version of the game. I'm kind of ambivalent on it. I like the number crunchiness of. I decided to use this because it's just funny killing things with poo scraper. I like the number crunchiness of D&D and the D20 system in general. I like the pass-fail system. There are a whole plethora of tabletop roleplay systems out there now, and you know, it's good that there's variety, and you know, one of the systems I really loved is the Shadowrun Vampire Masquerade D6 system, where you roll a massive pool of D6s. But then anyone who knows me knows that I love rolling massive pools of D6s. You know, anyone who's ever played me at Warhammer or War Machine over the years, me rolling a large amount of D6s, people just shrug at the amount of 5s and 6s that I roll. So this fight was pretty much over in one sense, but in another sense it still, you know, had stuff going on. The Drow Elves don't really pose that much of a threat compared to the Spectator, but they can be annoying. But equally, like I say, yeah, I'm not worried about discovering their story arc. I've already discovered it, so I might as well enjoy some experience from just battering some Drow Elves. And from an old D&D standpoint, I hate Drow Elves. Drow Elves are one of those villains that you just, oh man, over the years, like, Drugar and Drow are two of the races I really can't stand in D&D. I've played too many campaigns where we've been in wars against them and battled them. There's a very famous D&D campaign called A Night Below, which the title lies. It's not a Night Below. It's an eternity stuck underground fighting Drugar and Drow. That's what it should say as a title. It's a horrible campaign. And then it gets all illithid and horrible, and then it's really bad. But that's the way a lot of D&D campaigns go. Even my current one's the Night one, which the first part of the campaign was, you know, really fun, and then we got the expansion to higher level bit, and that all became very illithid and far realmy, and it was fun. It's been a really fun campaign. We're at the absolute final end of the campaign now, and it's been a tough road to get there, and there's been a lot of illithidness, which, you know, I thought I'd get away from illithids, away from Baldur's Gate, but no. Man, I don't know why a hit percentage gets so low. I must have done something messed up, something, but, you know, that's just terrible. I think it hasn't got Bless on or something at the moment, which really makes a difference on a barbarian. Bless is, you know, really good for barbarians, so hence why it's worth doing this, just to put Blade Ward and Bless on everyone. Apart from Nipsy, because she was down there, and apparently that meant the spell didn't reach her, which is annoying, but you know, it is what it is. Overall, I've really enjoyed our Wednesday night campaign, and yeah, tomorrow night I'm going to find out how it ends and whether I survive the final battle or not. Hopefully I do, because if I don't survive the final battle, then we're a little light on people who can resurrect people. So if I survive the final battle, everyone survives the final battle one way or another, which is a good, you know, I think it's a good thing for a campaign. But if I don't survive the final battle, then multiple people might not survive the final battle. We'll have to see. The current thinking is we're halfway through the big bad fight at the end. Because sadly we had to finish so I could go to work because I was on nights, and just before Christmas, and we've had a few weeks to think about our fate and the fact that, yeah, we've probably done okay with the characters that we had, but we probably could have done, well, I mean, all the characters we've had have been fun to play, but we maybe could have done with someone who could have buffed our save and throws, or someone who actually had base intelligence save and throw. I know the ranger, like the Gloomstalker ranger, got really nerfed in the second part of the campaign for us. So in the first part of the campaign, he could just disappear at will and snipe everybody, and then suddenly everyone had blind sight. All of them had blind sight. It was really annoying. So I think, yeah, maybe things would have been done differently, but you know, ultimately it's been a fun campaign and we've really enjoyed it. My friend Alex, who ran the campaign, has done an amazing job of bringing the story to life and keeping us entertained for the couple of years that we've been playing it. That's the thing with D&D Adventures and D&D in general. If you get into tabletop RPG, you know, one campaign can really have a sustained impact on your life. It can last for a long time. I don't know why, yeah, but I might as well go for the crit on that. But yeah, you can. It's literally like years of entertainment in just one campaign, and that's the joy of Baldur's Gate 3 for me, is the fact that it's a campaign. It feels like a D&D campaign, and even though it's only like 220, 230 hours to complete, if you think about, imagine you were doing that in sessions, 4 or 5 hours long, when you could get all your friends together. It feels like it is a proper length D&D campaign, and plays like a proper length D&D campaign. I think the amount of work Larian put into to making it as close to the tabletop RPG as possible, without breaking things, has produced an immense video game with absolutely ridiculous amount of hours of replayability. And look, I remember to use Mage Hand for something. I don't use Mage Hand often enough. I should do, I don't. There's a lot of situations in this game and in tabletop roleplay that I forget I've got Mage Hand and how useful it is. One of the things I was going to do with my character on Wednesday night was take Enlarge Reduce and then use Reduce on a gnome, and then the Mage Hand can pick the gnome up and you can fly. I didn't do that combo because I ended up having to take a lot of support spells and couldn't really focus too many on concentration spells like Enlarge Reduce. And in a way, it would have been a fun spell but not really a useful spell, in terms of the campaign and how the campaign panned out. But all in all, yeah, I'm happy with the way this Nipsy Does Honor mode is panning out. The Boulette, unfortunately for the poor Boulette, we have this little cameo appearance by the Boulette at the end of this episode, which, if you were watching like a few episodes ago, we absolutely battered the Boulette up by the dog's grave, and the Boulette disappeared back underground. And I didn't realise how hurt he was until he really pops up here. And you can always tell when the big monster's coming because you get a save happen, which I'm on honor mode, so I can't like overwrite that anyway. And yeah, so the Boulette comes in here, and I'm like, oh no, it's the Boulette. I'm right on the edge. This could be problematic. Let's open with Shriek, moving close, Shriek it, and yeah, luck of the far round, crit, boom, dead. And it didn't even matter that I popped Shriek. But anyway, that's all for this episode. Poor little Boulette cameo. And I'll say that's all. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.